بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهاديين الذين تولى عنهم العز وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على
قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ قال ربك إني خالق بشرا من طين فإذا سويته ونفخت فيه من روحي فقعوا له ساجدين فسجد الملائكة كلهم أجمعين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, tonight we will continue our series of topics that we have been talking about regarding human beings. We mentioned in the previous discussion that every human being is formed of 4 parts. We said the first one is al-aql. The second part is al-nafs. The third part is al-badan, the body. The fourth part is al-ruh. We talked about al-aql last week and how much it plays a role in Islam. But there are still some questions about the fourth part of human being, which is a ruh. How does ruh works? And especially after we die. What happened to ruh? What does it do? Why is it that we know for sure when somebody passes away, they get buried? After a while, the body becomes a dust. The body is no longer there. But we still go to that place to pray for the deceased. Is it the body that we're praying for, which is no longer there? Or are we praying for something else other than the body? And then, in other words, what happened to the ruh after death? These are some of the questions that we want to discuss tonight so that we get some clarification about the hadith of our imams and explanation of what is ruh, what happened to ruh. This ayah that I just read is in Surah As-Sad, ayah 71, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about ruh. إِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ. Allah said, Ya Rasulullah, remember the time where your Lord told the entire angels. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ. The entire angels. What did Allah tell angels? إِنِّي خَالِقٌ بَشَرًا مِنْ طِينٍ. That I am going to create human being from clay. فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُ. After I finish. التسوية in Arabic بمعنى التعديل. After I finish and put it in the image that I want, Allah said, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. And I blow my spirit in him. Here there is a question, brothers and sisters. The question is that when Allah said, مِنْ رُوحِي, from my spirit, is that mean that Allah created ruh from him? Or ruh is something else that Allah created other than him, but he was ascribing the ruh to himself just to honor ruh. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Jannati, my heaven in the Quran. Does that mean that Jannah is from Allah, that is part of Allah? Or no, Allah ascribed it to himself in order to show an honor to the heaven itself. Which one is it here? Here our ulama in tafsir, they said the ruh that Allah is talking about is not part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's called للتشريف in Arabic. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, my spirit is ascribing the spirit to himself in order to show an honor to the ruh. That's why Allah said, min ruhi. Otherwise, ruh is not something from part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah is talking about. The same thing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيَا أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الْمُطْمَئِنَّ إِرْجِعِي إِلَىٰ رَبِّكِ رَاضِيَةً مَرْضِيَّةً فَادْخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي. The word ibadi is called also the tashrif. That Allah ascribed ibad to himself to honor those servants. When he said Jannati, my heaven, also to honor the heaven. That is why Allah ascribed it to himself. That is number one. Number two, also when Allah said, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. Our ulama, they said that indicate that Ruh is the last stage in human being's creation. Meaning, out of the four things, Al-Aql, Al-Nafs, Al-Badan, Al-Ruh, they all take stages. The last stage that Allah create in human being is Ruh. And when Allah put the Ruh in human being, that is when a human being becomes a complete being. And that is why Allah said, فَإِذَا نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحٍ. When I blow my spirit in him, Allah said, فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. Then bow down in showing a respect for this human being. For that matter, they say that this is what Ruh is about. Now, how can we identify Ruh? What is Ruh? Ruh, the answer is one of the creation we don't have knowledge about what exactly Ruh is about. One of the knowledge Allah didn't give us. We don't know what the Ruh is. And that's why when you go to the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how much people came to the Prophet. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ. They come several times asking of the Prophet, what is Ruh? What is Ruh? Tell us more about Ruh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. The Ruh is nothing but the order and the command of my Lord. And then Allah says, وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Allah says, you are not being given the knowledge except something. No. And you know, this tells you about how ignorant we are. How human being is ignorant to the point where we explore in the heavens. We go to the heavens to check about the moon, about the sun, the stars. We explore the animals, other things around us, but the closest thing to us, we are ignorant about it. Our own rule, something that is part of us, we don't know about it. That's how much we are ignorant about it. People and human beings up to now, we are able to get to have as highest technology as we can, but something in us still we are ignorant about it. And that is Ruh. That is what Ruh is about. So when we come to Ruh, we don't have much about Ruh. How does it look? Where does it locate? There are so many hadith regarding different location of Ruh, but that is not much important about where does it locate. But the question is, how does the Ruh function? How and what happens to Ruh after people die? The narration stated that a human being, when we die, what happened to the Ruh is this. The first thing what happens after we die is that the Ruh is taken by the angel of death. The angel of death, Azrael, when he takes the Ruh, what does he do? The first thing he does is to take the Ruh to the first heaven, the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, sixth, seventh, until he gets to Sidratul Muntaha. But when he takes the Ruh, he leaves something in the body, which is called, it's like an image of Ruh inside the body. Even though the Ruh is already gone, but the Ruh leaves is like a stamp or something like an image in the body. The Ruh is already gone. The person is dead. but there is some image of the Ruh inside the body which makes the body still function, but not as function as it was when the Ruh is completely with it. How does it function? Number one, the person is dead, but he still can hear. The person is dead, but he still can recognize every single one around them. The person is dead, but he still speaks to us. But the problem is we cannot hear what he's saying, because we are in different world than the deceased also is now in different world. So we cannot hear what he's saying, but he can hear every single word we're talking about. Not only that, some narrations say that he or she even speaks to us, but we cannot hear, because we are not in the same world with the person. Now, what happens is that then the Ruh is already there and the heavens waiting. Now, as we in this world, we're washing the body. The people who was washing the body is talking to them. What does he say to them? He said, be nice and gentle to me. Because when the Ruh leaves the body becomes very, very sensitive. Very sensitive. Some narrations say, when the Ruh completely leaves the body becomes like a fire under the fire. That's why it's mustahab during the process of ghusl, one should be very, very gentle with the body. That is during the time of ghusl. Now, after we finish the ghusl, we do the kafan, everything, right? We come to take the body for salat. We take the body for salat, the body speaks to us. The body is still in separation with the Ruh. The Ruh is still waiting. Now, we take the body for salat. When we put the deceased for salat, the deceased speak to the imam. What does he say? When the imam says Allahu Akbar, the first takbiratul ihram, then the deceased tells the imam, he said, Kabbarta kabiran, you have mentioned the greatest one. But how much do you know about this great creator? He said, you don't know him until you stand where I stand today. You think you know Allahu Akbar? We say Allahu Akbar 5 times a day in our salat, Allahu Akbar. But we just say it with our tongue. But the real realization about Allahu Akbar is the first day we depart from this earth. That's what the deceased tells the person. Now we take the person to the grave. After salat, the narration said, taking the person to the grave, the deceased talks to his children, his loved ones, about this dunya. Be careful. Don't let the dunya fool you and deceive you as it did to us. Then he said to the person and to the family, he said, dunya. He said, I gathered all this worldly materialism for you, and I left it behind for you, and today I have to answer Allah alone about it. That is the body talking about a human being. Now, as we take the person to the grave, we put the person into the grave. What happened? The narration said that as soon as the body is placed in the grave, then the Ruh comes back to unite with the body. Stays with the body at that point. After the body is covered, is closed, the people leave. Here, sometimes we hear there are 2 angels who come to question, right? But we always have 2 names of those angels. We call them Munkar and Nakir. But there are 4. There are 4 angels. They are Munkar and Nakir if the person is a bad person. If they come into a bad person, then they call Munkar and Nakir. But if the person is mu'min, then it's not Munkar and Nakir. What is it? They call Mubashir wa Bashir. They are called Mubashir wa Bashir. Because when they come, Munkar and Nakir, listen carefully from the name. The word Munkar from Manukir, things that is disliked. Like it says, Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. Nakir, things that is disliked. Now, if those Munkar and Nakir, they come to us to ask question, to a person who have done a lot of things that is disliked. But if the person is a mu'min, they come mubashir and bashir. They come to give the person a good news about their hard work, what they have done in this world. So they come to do what? To tell the person about the good news. So they're not always munkar and nakir for all people. No, no, no. If the person is a mu'min, it's mubashir wa bashir. If the person is bad, then it's munkar and nakir. Now, when they come, they question the body. The first question, Ar-Rabbuk, your Lord, Nabiyyuk, Imamuk, Kitabuk, Qiblatuk. They know, that's the first question. Now, after the person finished all the answers, then what happened? They come to the action, because these are all faith. These are like what? Usul-ud-Din. Now, then they come to the Furu'-ud-Din, which is the action. The first one is As-Salah. Now, after they finish questioning and everything, then the Rooh, again, one more time, it departs from the body again. But the second time when it departs from the body, it doesn't depart the body completely like the before. No, the second time, it leaves the body, but at the same time in the image of that body. How? The same size of that human being, the Rooh takes that image. The same size of that person, how tall he is, how big, how much he weighs, it takes the same size, the same shape of that human being. And then what does he do? At that moment, it leaves that place. Where does he go? Here they say there are two places. One place is called Wadil Barhut, or someone they call it Hadramut, which some narration they mention is a place in Yemen. That is the location of all the bad ruh. That's where they go. So all the bad ruh, they go there. They unite there, right? They have different levels. As inshallah, we're going to come into detail. Now, if the ruh is good, where does it go? It doesn't go to that place. No, no, no. It goes to another place which is called Wadi Salam. Where? In Iraq. So remember, the good ruh, they go to where? To Yemen. That doesn't mean Yemen is a bad place. If the ruh is good, then it goes to where? To Najaf. And it stays at what? At Wadi Salam. Now when they go there, what do they do? Here, the narration said, before the ruh leaves the body, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens the door of the heaven for that servant, if the mu'min. Then the ruh started to enjoy the heaven. But how far? Like the heaven Yawm al-Qiyamah? No, no, no. Because Yawm al-Qiyamah is different. They also have the benefit of heaven. Like where? Like when you go to a restaurant. You go to a restaurant, you have to get the two kind of food, right? One is called appetizer, and then you warm yourself before the real food comes in, right? The same thing in the Alam al-Barzakh. Alam al-Barzakh, if the person is mu'min, then they prepare certain good things for the person to enjoy in that Barzakh. If the person is bad in Wadi al-Barhut, also the ruh stays there and it gets punished. How many times? Twice a day. In Alam al-Barzakh. Now listen to the Quran. النار يعرضون عليها غدوا وعشيا. In the morning and in the evening. That is if the ruh is kafir. It's about they've been punished in the morning and the evening as well. Now if the person is a mu'min, the ruh stays in that world and it enjoys also in the morning and the evening as well. And what do? They are also waiting for the Qiyamah. Now, here comes to the question. Sometimes we say qabr. When somebody dead, we call it qabr, right? We go and put it in there, a grave. Now, we think that the punishment is in the grave. But that's not the case. You know why? Because not everybody gets grave. Some people who die by eaten by, let's say, a lion, for example. What is their grave? Is the tummy of a lion? No. What about the person who got also drowned in the river? They don't have the qabr. What happened to them? Now here we say we have two kinds of qabr in Islam. One qabr is called al-qabr al-fiqhi, meaning a grave in the fiqh wise, meaning a hole, they put the body in it, they cover it. That's called al-qabr al-fiqhi. Then we have another qabr also, which is called al-qabr ghayr al-fiqhi. It's a qabr which is not a root, doesn't the body is not placed in the grave, but it still have to live in what we call al-barzakh. Both of them are in barzakh. Whether it's the body is buried in the grave or the body didn't get buried in the, it doesn't matter. For that matter, when a person dies, the most important part of him is no longer the aql, it's not longer the body, it's not longer the nafs. What is more important is a ruh. What gets punished is the ruh, if the person is bad. What gets also the blessings and the happiness is also the ruh. So the ruh becomes the center of the happiness if the person is a mu'min, and it becomes also the center of punishment if the person is bad. That is what the ruh is. So here when we say the person that they bury him there, we go to the qabr to visit that person. Okay, if we say that the person is dead and the ruh is either Wadi Salam or Barhoud. Now what happened to the grave when we go there to go and visit? Yeah, listen, brothers and sisters. Not everybody turns to dust. That's something we have to keep in mind. Not everybody. When we bury a mu'min or a person, don't think that everyone they turn into dust. No. Number one, there are certain people, their body is haram for the earth to eat. Allah made it haram. They cannot. It doesn't matter how many years they die, the body stays the same. When you look at the body, it's like it's buried today. One of those bodies are the prophets. It's haram for the earth to eat the body of the prophet. For that matter, today if you and I, we get the chance to go and open the grave of Adam alayhi salam, you will find the body of Adam as he is buried today. Nothing happens to that body. It's haram. That's number one. Number two, people like A'imma, our imams, the body, whatever they bury the body is still there. That is why today when we go to ziyarah, we go to the grave. So the body of Ma'soom, it stays where it is buried and nothing happened to that body till the day of judgment. That is number two. Number three, a good mu'min or mu'minah. When they die, the body doesn't get destroyed either. It stays the way it is. That's number three. Number four, Hafidhul Quran. A person memorize the Holy Quran. It's haram for the body of that person to be eaten by a dust. It's impossible. And here, you know what they say? Why they say that? Because they have hadith from the Prophet. It says that one day during the time of Mecca, they call it Amul Muqata'a, the year of sanction. When the mushrikun, they sanctioned the Prophet. And what did they do? They wrote a letter, and in the beginning of that letter, they wrote Bismika Allahumma. And then they wrote all the rules. We are not going to sell anything to Muhammad, and we are not going to buy anything from him. We are not going to marry their family, their people, and they can't marry from us. We can, they wrote all the rules. They placed it on Kaaba. What happened? Allahu Akbar. The narration stated that the ants came and they started eating every single part of the paper until they get to Allahumma. Nothing happened to that name. The companions, they were shocked. Ya Rasulullah, all these words that are written is gone, except just the word Allahumma. Then the Prophet said, do not be surprised about what you saw. I will tell you something even surprised than this. What is it? He said, if any one of you is able to memorize the Quran, he said, then Allah make that person's body haram on the earth to eat. So the person still stays the same place. Now, So when we bury a person in the grave, if the person is prophet or imam or wali or a mu'min or hafiz al-Quran, practicing Muslim, the body does not turn to dust. It stays the way it is. Now, when we want to go visit the person, the body is still there. We can go and visit that person. Here they said the reason why we go to that particular grave, even though the root might be in Wadi Salam or it might be other place, they say the moment somebody goes to that grave, the ruh can come and unite with the body one more time. So when you go there to say Assalamu alaikum to any deceased, it doesn't matter where they are buried, they will get that place as quick as possible. Because ruh, one of the qualities of ruh, it can travel everywhere in the world as faster as more than we can ever imagine. The ruh can be in Japan in less than a second. It can be anywhere in the world without needing of anything. So the ruh can be somewhere in Wadi Salam, but if you and I go to the grave today, tonight, in Iran, in Iraq, anywhere in the world, the ruh will be there at that moment to receive any guest who come to say salam to them. That's not just that, brothers and sisters. You know, in the hadith, the ruh itself, it comes to you as the family member. When they said also in the night of Friday, Laylat al-Jum'ah, Thursday night, what did they do? They come to their family members and they talk to them. Can you read Fatiha for us? Can you do Sadaqah for us? Can you do any khair so that we can earn some thawab and earn the pleasure of Allah? They do that. They ask that. So they can travel around the world anywhere they want to go. So it doesn't matter where the person is buried. If you go there to visit them, they also come to that place. But there's one thing also, brothers and sisters. You know that there are some angels. They are called al-Naqalun. Naqalun are a special angels Allah creates. When somebody is buried at one place, and the person doesn't deserve to be there, what do? They transfer the person. They take the person from one place to another. Like for example, somebody died in here in the United States. They get buried in any place. But according to the wish of Allah or Ahlul Bayt alayhi wassalam, that person does not deserve to be in that location. Those angels, their job is to take that person from that place and bury him somewhere else. And they call it an-Naqalun. Now here, if that person, let's say we think is still here, and we come to visit the person, yes, the ruh also comes back to that place to receive any person who comes to say salam to them. That is the ruh. So the ruh does not have a limitation in terms of how to transport or to travel from one place to another. They have that flexibility. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them. But the most important part is this, brothers and sisters. This ruh that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, if that person is a mu'min, they say, the narration said, then the person start to enjoy all the blessings in the alam al-barzakh. And every single day they asking Allah to hasten the qiyamah. They don't want that. Because they see the highest blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the yawm al-qiyamah. If the person is about in a wadis al-barahud, what happened? Then the person is opposite. He or she wants Allah to delay the qiyamah. Why? Because whatever punishment they have in, compared to the coming one is nothing. So they want the heaven, the Yawm al-Qiyamah to be delayed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed those two, it blessed those the ruh of a mu'min. And the narration said the person in that world, anything they want in alam al-barzakh, they get that from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And alam al-barzakh, I was saying alam al-barzakh, some people who got buried in the grave, they call it Dhaqtul Qabr, the pressure of the grave. How does it happen? When the person doesn't have a grave. Again we said, the punishment happens where? With the ruh. And it doesn't matter where the ruh is. If the person is a mu'min, they get the blessing. If the person is bad, they get also the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But here comes the thing, brothers and sisters. What are the things that one can do, according to the hadith of Ahlul Bayt, to prevent what we call dhaqtul qabr, the pressure of the grave? This is from Manazil al-Akhirah, a book called Manazil al-Akhirah, written by one of our great scholars, Sheikh Abbas al-Qummi, the author of Mafatih al-Jinan. He said, one of the best things to do for Allah to protect a mu'min from the pressure of the qabr, they say, is to read Surah An-Nisa every Friday. Friday comes, a person take a moment to read Surah An-Nisa, the chapter of women. They say that surah, it protects the person from any punishment of the grave. Because when we say punishment of the grave, brothers and sisters, it's two kinds. Number one, there are certain mu'mineen who get punished in the grave too. A mu'min, but he gets punished in the grave. Which mu'min are we talking about? Al-mu'min sahibul kaba'ir. A mu'min who commit major sins. What Allah does is to punish him or her in the grave, so Yawm al-Qiyamah he or she would not be punished. It's like Allah is going to punish the person there in the qabr, so Yawm al-Qiyamah when they come, they are free from any punishment, then Allah can send them to heaven. And then there are some who also get punished in the grave as the first part of their punishment, and then the worst one is waiting for Yawm al-Qiyamah. But the best thing to prevent the dhaqtul qabr and the pressure of the qabr, they say is Surah An-Nisa. That's number two. Another narration said, one of the surahs that can also prevent a person from any pressure of the qabr is Surah Al-Zukhruf. Another surah, Surah Al-Zukhruf. If a person reads this surah more often, it doesn't matter, anytime I get a chance, I read it twice a week, once a week, they say it also prevents the person from the pressure and the punishment of grave. Now another question. In Alam al-Barzakh, when a person is in there, do they get to visit each other? Do they get to see each other? The answer is yes. Don't we visit each other here? Yes. Today you say, I want to go visit brother and sister. Yes, there's a visitation there. In Alam al-Barzakh, the Rooh, they can visit one another. They can talk to one another. Even the narration stated, in Alam al-Barzakh, they visit and they also spend time with each other more than they used to do in this world. You know why? Because in this world we're busy working, a lot of responsibility, right? In Alam al-Barzakh, it's like a retirement, less to do. Right? So in Alam al-Barzakh, there is more visitation than it is here. In Alam al-Barzakh, people can visit one another and they can see one another. And the same thing, even a person can be in the Alam al-Barzakh in Wadi Salam, but he or she can see someone in Wadi al-Barhut. They can see each other. A mu'min can be in one place, but he can see another person in where? And somewhere else. And there is a visitation between the two of them. More than that, in Alam al-Barzakh, in that world, do they have something called a shafa'a or not? In Alam al-Barzakh, is there shafa'a that can somebody intercede someone in Alam al-Barzakh? The narration said, yes, even in Alam al-Barzakh, there is shafa'a. But the biggest shafa'a is Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment. That there is shafa'a. That sometimes a person who is supposed to be punished in Alam al-Barzakh, sometimes the Imams or Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, they intervene for Allah to forgive the person, or a mu'min or wali can intervene for Allah to forgive that person. That is in Alam al-Barzakh. But the most important part, brothers and sisters, is that in Alam al-Barzakh, the body doesn't have any role in that world. The body is only where? In this world. But in Alam al-Barzakh, it's only Rooh who is more important. But how did the Rooh works in Alam al-Barzakh? Here they say, our ulama, they give an example. There's an example of ruh working in the barzakh, and the shape of human being's body is like when you look at yourself in the mirror. What do you see? You see yourself, right? But that self in the mirror and the self outside, they look alike, but they have two big different. There are two big differences. Difference number one: the body that is outside, the size and the weight of it is not the same in the mirror. The body outside, what it does and what it needs is not the same thing what is in the mirror. Meaning, the body in the mirror is the same image, but there is a big difference between the two of them. The same thing in the barzakh. That when the ruh takes the shape of the body, and is called in al-barzakh, they call al-badanul mithali. That's the name, al-badan al-mithali. Meaning, the body which is in the image of ruh. It has all the image, but it's not the same as this body. But this body goes through changes until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Yawm al-Qiyamah, when they blew the horn, the narration said, then that body that was turned to dust, it comes back exactly as it was at the time of death to unite with the ruh again for the Yawm al-Qiyamah. Every single part of the body that used to be there before the death would all come. Like Allah said in Surah Al-Qiyamah, لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. And then Allah says, بلا قادرين على أن نسوي بنانا. Even our thumbprint also comes back on the day of judgment. But Yawm al-Alam al-Barzakh, the entire body becomes to dust, and the ruh is what takes place. For that matter, a ruh is what stays from the day Allah created human being until the Alam al-Qiyamah. The ruh is going to be there. The other three, they can disappear, they can come and unite, but the only one that stays forever and doesn't change, doesn't grow, doesn't become small, nothing happens to it, is the ruh. And it functions as it should in Alam al-Barzakh until the Yawm al-Qiyamah. وصلى الله على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, we go to question and answers if there are any. Yes.
I wanted to know the Arabic words and terms which are used in Quran to describe mosques, because in Urdu and Farsi, there are terms which do not exactly capture the same meaning that Arabic terms. So would you please tell us what those terms are and what their real meanings are?
Okay. The words that are used in the Quran for mount, they are many. One of them is the word mount. قُلْ يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتُ الَّذِي وُكِّلَ بِكُمْ. Allah used the word mount in Arabic, which means death. The word al-maut in Arabic, when you look in the dictionary, it means separation between a body and the ruh. The day that the ruh completely gets separated from the body is called death. It's called al-maut. That is number one. The other word that is used in the Quran, which means al-maut or death, is the word at-tawaffi. At-tawaffi is mentioned in Surah Al-Zumar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allahu yatawaffa al-anfusa hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha. But the word is yatawaffa. At-tawaffi in Arabic, they mean أخذ الشيء بكامله, to take something completely. When you take something, sometimes you take and you leave some. No, when you say at-tawaffi, is to take something completely, altogether. That is why the same word Allah used for Isa alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya Isa inni mutawaffika wa rafi'uka ilayya. Mutawaffi means I'm taking you, all of you. It's not like the ruh and then the body still stays. No. Mutawaffik, I'm taking you completely. Wa rafi'uka ilayya, and I'm going to raise you to me. But the word tawaffi, that's one of the meaning. But the word tawaffi also, it means death. That somebody is being taken to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is one of the words also that is used Another word that is used in the Quran also, meaning the death, which sometimes Allah used by adding it to the death, like it's called sakaratul maut. Sakarat meaning at the stages of the end of the life. Like when a person is going through that time of separation, that the body and the ruh, they are now coming to separate. At that action, it's also called sakaratul maut. These are some of the terms that are used in the Quran. There are some of them, but these are the main one in the Quran regarding the death. Yes.
So you mentioned about the ruh coming back to the body when somebody goes to the grave, but that ruh can come anywhere.
Yes.
That you pray for them, right?
Yes.
You say salam to them. So, is it fadilat to go to the grave and do that over there instead of anywhere else? And in general, and especially with Himma, is it more fadilat to go there and do it and salam, or do it anywhere else? What's the difference?
Yes, the question is, we mentioned that a ruh can come anywhere. It can go to houses, it can be in the grave when we go to visit. For that matter, is it necessary for us to go to the grave, or is it better to sit and make dua wherever we are? Like in the case of our imams, can I sit in my room and read Ziyarat Ashura, or do I have to go to the Karbala by going through the train or airplane to get there and visit them? Then the answer is that either one can be done. Meaning, one can sit at home and make ziyarah or read dua for the deceased. That's fine. One can also go to the grave and do the dua. But going there is better. Why is it better? Number one, the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged us visiting the graves. Why? They said, the Prophet mentioned one of the hadith, he said, visit the grave because it softens your heart. When you enter the grave, you see all these people who used to live like you and I, and now they are in the grave. They're in the graves. At least it reminds you and it makes your heart to be soft. That is number one. Number two, it's a sunnah of the Prophet. Visiting the grave. That the narration of the Prophet, anytime he goes to any city, the first thing he does is to go and visit the grave. When he leaves the city, the last place he visits is the grave as well. That is in terms of all the general graves. But for the Imams and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they encourage us to visit. They encourage us that if you can, they say, no matter how much holiday, you should go to the grave of Imams and visit them. And there is thawab that are unimaginable. Because some hadith said, visiting the Imams, the reward is nothing but heaven. That is some of the hadith, how much they emphasize the importance of visiting the Imam. So when a person can go to visit the Imams, that is the best thing to do, and the reward of it is very, very high. And the same thing because one of the reasons, as the Quran says, وَمَنْ يُعَذِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. When you go and you visit certain places like the graves of the Prophet or Imams, one of the things it does is to increase your taqwa. So that is one of the reasons that we should go. And it's best to go to the graves than to sit and pray for them at any place. Yes.
Can Rooh from Wadi Barut transfer to Wadi Salam after the decease of Wadi Barut pay some respect or pay some du'as? Can that Rooh be transferred to Wadi Salam?
Yeah, the question is if the person happened to be in the Wadi al-Barhut, the bad place, can the person be transferred from that place to that place, which is the Wadi Salam, after they have been into Wadi in Yemen? The answer is yes, they can. If the person is given the shafa'ah, through the dua, through the isal al-thawab, it can change the status of that person to go to another place. Yes, they can. But that needs a lot of work, either with shafa'ah or a lot of isal thawab. That can change the status of that person. No, not only that, even if the person happened to be in that world is so sad, some a'mal we do, it makes difference in their life then. So yes, one can do that, one can change their life from that. Yes?
I have two questions. One, what is your definition of a mu'min? And another one, how far is it true that some people say that if you don't have the wilaya and the love for Imam Ali,
Yes.
even if you're a Muslim, you should not pray Fatiha for them and there's no bakshish for them, they cannot go to Jannah.
Right.
How far is that true? Even if that person is a good person, is a Muslim, but does not have the love of Imam Ali and our Ayyamah.
Okay. Now the first question is, what is the definition of mu'min? Number one, there are two kinds of definition of mu'min. One is according to the Quran, one is according to the Hadith. According to the Quran, there are two definitions of mu'min. One is mentioned in Surah Al-Anfal. Allah mentioned 5 qualities. If a person has those 5 qualities, Allah said they are mu'min. Number 1, إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم. Allah said the mu'min is the person when Allah is mentioned in their sight, their heart trembles from the fear of Allah. Anytime they mention Allah, their heart gets scared, they fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's number 1. Number 2, وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Anytime Allah's miracle or verses are read to him or her, their iman increases. Meaning, a mu'min always is like a moving wheel. Always his iman is increasing. When he hears something, his iman increasing. That is number 2. Number 3, they also share whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them. And when we say share what Allah gave them, not necessarily money, no. Everything Allah gave them. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them with something, for example, a wisdom, they share with others. That's one of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them with the health. Somebody wants to move, they need help, they go and help. That's one of them. Everything that Allah has blessed you, you share with the others who are in need. That is one. Number 4, وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. They always depend only on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't depend on anybody. But here comes the question. If I depend on Ahlul Bayt, is that considered dependent on somebody else other than Allah? No. When we depend on Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, is the same dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is number 3. Number 4. Number 5 is also they believe in the day of judgment. These are the 5 qualities. Allah mentioned Surah Al, and then Allah said, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَقًّا. These are the true believers according to the Quran. That's number 1. Number 2 in Surah Al-Mu'minun also. Allah mentioned almost like 5 qualities and not 7 qualities in Surah Al-Mu'minun. One of the things that Allah added there, it says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. He said they stay away from vain talk. Things that is not important, they don't get into that. They always make sure that they focus on something that is beneficial. That is number 1 of the things that is not mentioned there. The second one that is not mentioned in the previous one is that Allah mentioned Salat 2 times. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. Then he goes say, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَوَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. Salat is one of the qualities of mu'min. So these are the qualities of mu'min according to the Quran. But then the hadith also have another hadith also mentions some definition. Number 1, the hadith that we have from our imams, alamatul mu'min khamsa. The signs of mu'min is khamsa, 5. One of them is, it says, al-jahar bi bismillah. That when they pray, they say Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Number 2, ziyarat arba'in. The person visit Imam Hussein on arba'in, or at least they read ziyarat arba'in. Number 3, at-takhattum bil yamin. So also they have always what you call the ring and the right hand. Number 4, they say also التعفير بالجبين. They always have the sign of turba. Means when they pray, they have turba on the they pray on the turba. That's one of the signs of the mu'min. And then the 5th, they says Salat 51 rak'ah. They pray 51 rak'ah prayer every day. That is including mustahabbat. So this one of the signs of iman. So we have these 2, but the main and the most important is the one in the Quran. Yes. Number 2, about the question regarding if a person is not muwali of Ahlul Bayt. There are 2 kinds of them, brothers and sisters. Sometimes we generalize, but it's not right. There are certain people who do not carry the love of Ahlul Bayt because they don't know Ahlul Bayt. There are them. Sometimes maybe some of us we don't know, but there are people who don't know. When you go to certain places, like in Africa, there are people who never even heard about Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And that is our responsibility. The problem because we did not get the message to them. Those people, of course, if they die not knowing them, they are not included in those, they will not be forgiven. Because Allah said in Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. Allah said it's not our sunnah to punish somebody unless they get the message. Somebody they didn't get the message, there is no reason to punish them. That is number 1. Number 2, there are another group also who they are not followers of Ahlul Bayt. They heard about Ahlul Bayt, but they did not reject or hate Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. They didn't follow them as the imams, but they didn't show any animosity towards them. Those might be forgiven too. The 3rd group who cannot, there is no way Allah is going to forgive them, is those who heard about them and they rejected them and they hate them. This is not just, I'm not going to go to you from the Shia school of thought. No. This from the Sunni books and Tafsir Zamakhshari under the ayah قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. A Sunni scholar, he quoted, he said, أَلَا وَمَنْ مَاتَ عَلَى بُغْضِ آلِ مُحَمَّدٍ لَمْ يَشُمُّ رَائِحَةَ الْجَنَّةِ. Anybody who dies and they carry a drop of hate about Ahlul Bayt, he said, not only they're not going to go to heaven, they will not even smell the heaven. Many hadiths he mentioned. One of them, he said, Mata kafiran, the person, it doesn't matter. Prayers, fasting, hajj, zakat, if they carry the hate of Ahlul Bayt, he said, it doesn't matter how they die kafir. Those people are the ones that we're talking about. It doesn't matter how much you pray for them, they will not have the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of the hate. But if the person is the first and second group that we mentioned, they have the right of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes.
Related question. So, when somebody dies, do we assume always that they were moments and we ask for their maghfirat because we may not be sure about what they actually believed, and so they could be doing taqiyya or something. So what is the general assumption when somebody dies, and do we always assume that they were mu'min but they had committed some sin and they require our dua for their maghfirat, or should we assume that this person is died so he's not going to go, so why waste my time? So,
no, when somebody passes away, as long as they are not nasibi, they call them nasibi. Nasibi means the one who clearly shows the animosity towards Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, called nasibi. If the person is not nasibi, 2, is not munafiq. If somebody is munafiq and is well known, is obvious, then we cannot give them any benefit of that. But if a person we don't know, we know that we pray with us, we know that he comes to majalis, we know that he's doing good, and yes, he might have sins here and there, backbite somebody, he might steal somebody's money. Even with that, when they die, we still have to give them the benefit of doubt. That's why in the dua in Salat al-Mayyit, when we read, we say, Allahumma inna la na'lamu minhu illa khayra. Ya Allah, we don't know anything about him but good. Wa anta a'lamu bihi minna. But you know him better than us. Allahumma in kana muhsinan, fazid fi ihsan. If he's good, Ya Allah, as you know and we think we know, Allah increase that in his hasanat. Wa in kana musi'an. If he had some bad deeds, fatajawaz an sayyi'at. Ya Allah, forgive him. So our responsibility is to assume that he or she is still good. That if it is bad, and we know it's munafiq, then we mention that too. Allahumma inna na'lamu annahu munafiq. Ya Allah, we know he is munafiq. Yes. Yes, please.
About Nabi Musa and Nabi Khidr.
Yes.
Like, since Nabi Musa got a book,
Yes.
and Nabi Khidr didn't, like, but Nabi Khidr like had like more knowledge and was like more like wise and stuff. And Nabi Musa asked for his help. Like, why didn't Nabi Khidr get any books?
It's a good question. The brother is asking about Nabi Allah Khidr and Musa alayhi salam. According to the brother, the question is, we all know in the Quran Surah Al-Kahf, Allah talks about their relationship, how did it start, how did it end. And it appears that Khidr alayhi salam, he was more knowledgeable than Musa alayhi salam. And we know that Musa alayhi salam had a book, but Khidr didn't. So where is the secret that the most knowledgeable one doesn't have a book, but the one who was starting to be a student, he had a book? The answer is number one, Khidr is not a prophet. He was not a prophet. I'm saying he's not because we believe he's still living. Khidr is still alive. Inshallah, someday I'll get a chance to share with you a light about the life of Khidr, because his life is full of miracles. And when you get a chance, there's tafsir called Tafsir Nur al-Thaqalain. The author mentioned a lot of beautiful things about Khidr. But the end is that Khidr, there are some people say he's a prophet, but the majority say he's not a prophet. Why? Simple reason is that there will not be two Rasul at the same time. Meaning, Allah will not send two prophets who are sent to the entire world at the same time, except it has to be one. And if there are two or three or more, which sometimes happen, one of them is the Rasul, the others are Anbiya. Nabi, you can have multiple Anbiya, but you cannot have multiple Rasul. Khidr alayhi salam, the reason why we believe he's not a prophet, because if he was a prophet, to whom he was sent to? Because Musa alayhi salam, we know, he was sent to the entire world. Now, to whom Khidr was sent at that time? So that is one of the reasons our scholars say he was not a prophet. He was Abdun min ibadillah. It's one of the awliya Allah. That is about that. But the reason why did he have knowledge more than Musa alayhi salam? Because we believe, according to the Shia school of thought, the prophet have to be the most knowledgeable of his time. That nobody else is knowledgeable like that prophet at the time, or Imam. The answer is, Musa alayhi salam was more knowledgeable than Khidr. Yes. Musa alayhi salam, he was more knowledgeable than Khidr, but in ilm al-zawahir. And Khidr is more knowledgeable in al-batin. And the prophets and the imams, they are not required to be more knowledgeable in bawatin, because human beings are not judged on the batin but the wahir. So Khidr alayhi salam, Allah gave him some ilm about batin, hidden things, which is not the quality that one have to become prophet. That is why you saw in the Quran, he was doing certain things. Musa alayhi salam didn't know what he was doing. But in the reality, Musa alayhi salam was more knowledgeable about the dawahir, about the things that are not hidden, which is the requirement for the prophethood. But Musa alayhi salam is the prophet and the messenger, and Khidr was not. So that's why he didn't have the book. Yes.
MashaAllah, maybe we asked the question, we had that in the class today, MashaAllah, good job.
Yes.
On that topic, maybe unrelated, the question was, while we were going through the story of Khidr alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam,
Yes.
it struck to me a point where you mentioned last week or a few weeks ago, where when Khidr alayhi salam kills the little boy, right?
Yes.
So how can one reconcile the killing of the innocent child with the fact that when Imam Ali walked into the Masjid al-Kufa, knowing that he would be killed,
Yes.
and you had talked about how could Imam Ali go preemptively attack the Muljam for his intentions of killing him, and he hasn't killed him yet, right?
Right.
Imam Ali.
Right.
But Khidr alayhi salam here kills the innocent on the pretext that this person would become, monstrous, right?
Right.
And his creed would be not on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Right.
So how does one reconcile the act of Khidr alayhi salam with the act of Imam Ali, where he also had the knowledge of the right ilm, right?
That's right. The question is that about the Khidr alayhi salam, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that he saw a child was playing with the other children. Immediately, no question, no sign, nothing, he rushed to the child and killed him. How can we justify this action when we have in our history Imam Ali alayhi salam, the night he got struck by Ibn Muljam, when Imam Hassan asked him about the dream he saw, and he explained, and he said that the meaning of the dream is that I will be killed tonight. I will be hurt tonight, and maybe I will die tonight. And then Imam Hassan asked him, who will kill you? And he mentioned his name. And then he said, if you know he's going to kill you, why don't you kill him? And he said, لا يجوز القصاص قبل الجناية. You can't kill or attack somebody before they commit the crime. No. The answer is that in the case of Khidr, it's an exception. There are certain things, they are exception. That's when you go to the Quran in Surah Al-Kahf, Khidr himself, he mentioned, when you go through the ayahs, when he was telling Musa what he did, he said, مَا فَعَلْتُهُ أَنْ أَمْرِي. He said, I didn't do it on my own wish. Meaning, Allah told me to do it. Otherwise, I didn't have the right to kill anybody. Right? That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you look in the ayah, he said, after he killed the child, when he was explaining, he said, فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ أَنْ يُبْدِلَهُ. Then Allah asked me to kill him, so because he wanted to replace him with another child. So Khidr alayhi salam, when he was mentioned, he said, I didn't do it on my own. It's an order from Allah asked me to do that. That is why Allah replaced that child who got killed with another child, which the narration said that child became a father of 70 prophets. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaced the child who got killed. Allah gave them another child. That child became a father of prophets, up to 70 prophets from this child. Allah gave them the best of what He taught. So the answer is that this is an exception, because the prophet and awliya, sometimes Allah give them certain things to do, and they are exception. Example, in the case of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. Now I'm asking you a question. Is it okay in Islam to come to anybody's house and pick their couch and take it to anybody you want to take them?
Yes.
My sister say yes. Islamically speaking, am I allowed to come to your house without your permission? Get to your house, pick up your couch, take it to my house, do it whatever I want to do with it. Am I allowed in that Islam? No. It's not allowed in Islam. You can't do that. Now look in the Quran. Allah tells us about Prophet Sulaiman. He told one of his angels and one of the jinn who can bring me the throne of Bilqis before she came? And they did. Ya Sulaiman, did you ask her permission? No. How did he get permission to go and pick somebody's couch, somebody's throne, and from one country to another and treat it the way he wants before she comes? There is an exception for certain prophet that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them. Certain exception. It's like wanting to say, it's like certain code and password. Sometimes they can enter to get the access to certain things, but that password is not for everybody. Just because they do it, that doesn't mean that I can do that. And this happened to the prophet too, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them certain privilege. It doesn't happen to us. So for the case of Khidr, it's an exception that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed him to kill that child for one purpose, but it doesn't apply to anybody else. Yes?
My question is, how does one decide where should they be buried? If my family is in India, then do I need to take, first of all, like, how do I decide, should I be buried in the US or in India? And what right does my family have to suggest it, or do I need to take their opinion as to like where should I be buried?
The question is, how can one decide where to be buried? This is one of the privilege of human being that Allah gives every human being. That before the death, one can make a decision. Where do I want to be buried? You can make that decision. That's one of the choice Allah gives every human being. If I want to be buried in any other country, any place, it can be done. If you write in your will, it has to be done according to your wish. Unless if it becomes unbearable, cannot be done. Then at that moment, the rule becomes not valid at that point. But if it can, it has to be done. But it comes from the person. You have the choice to make a decision how and where you want to be buried. If you choose to be buried anywhere, that is what has to be done. So the choice is yours, and it does nothing to do with why and what's the reason. It's up to you. And Islam gives you that privilege. But if you don't make that choice, and the person dies, then it becomes the right of the awliya to make the choice where to bury the person. And if I die here today, and I didn't write in my will, I want to be buried here, I want to be buried to Najaf, I want to be buried somewhere else. As soon as I die, then the awliya, they get the choice to make where they want the person to be buried. If it's convenient here, they bury the person there. But if they already wrote, if the deceased wrote in the will that I want to bury it at this place, and there is that possibility, that is exactly what has to be done. Yes.
Malana, just a question. People are always saying that you should buy a cover for yourself.
Yes.
Before you, not after you're dead, but before you're like, I can purchase my cover, right? But
if
why
you die,
do
you can't buy the cover anymore.
But why do we do that? Because we don't know where we are going to die, right? I mean, I could be going someplace, going to Switzerland probably, and probably die on the way, and I don't know what that particular place would be. I would neither be in Switzerland nor in US, you know. I could die any place. Then why do we run so much about graveyard, like buying covers? And also, there's one thing I don't understand. I mean, this is becoming more and more like, especially in Pakistan, I'm sure there's other places also. Like, the minute the person dies, they don't even wait for any of their next, like their children to travel from some place. They just bury that person, like, the minute they get a chance, you know, everything gets arranged. I mean, nobody waits for anybody. So what is happening to that dead body or the Rooh that all the Malanas and everybody, you know, says that to bury the dead body as soon as possible?
Yes, question number one about buying a grave. In Islam, it's mustahab for a person to buy their own grave or to find their own grave before he dies. It's mustahab. You have one of our scholars, Allama Sabbas al-Qummi. They said he dug his own grave. He himself dug his own grave, and he is the only person who got his own kafan. And every Thursday night he gets into the grave and read Dua Qumya till the day he passes. He wears his kafan that he bought, and he sat in the grave, he opened the alcohol from the beginning to the end, and then after that he comes out. That is our scholars. But one of the wisdom behind it, especially buying those things, they say because buying a kafan, buying a grave, a person should do it by making sure that all these things are bought with the pure halal income. Because when I die, I don't know who's going to pay for my kafan. I don't know who's going to pay for my grave. Now, whoever pays for the kafan or the grave, is it from the halal income or haram income? Even though I'm not responsible for it, but at least I'm now being offered something that is not pure. To avoid certain things, they say it's better to buy my own kafan from halal income, to buy my own grave from halal income, so at least I have my pure and peace of mind, knowing that I am offering myself what is the best thing. That is one of the mustahabbat. That is recommended. Even though we don't know, but it's recommended to have that. Number two, the reason why they say this too, is that a person buys a grave where you have at least a higher percentage sure that you might end up dying there. Like for example, if a person settled in a place, I know that I'm here, and I know that majority of time, possibility I'm going to die here. But the slim chance that I might die somewhere else, if there is that great chance of dying someplace, it's recommended to have the grave in that place. That is the recommendation. But yes, it doesn't mean that the person will definitely die there. There might be some possibilities to die somewhere else. The Quran says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who knows where a person will be dying. He knows them. But it's better to be prepared for that death at any time. That is number one. Number two, regarding of waiting when the person dies. It all depends on the people and the awliya of Mayyit. When a person dies, it doesn't have to be buried the same day. No. They can wait for days. They can wait for some times. And as a matter of fact, we cannot make decisions about the deceased, where to be buried, when to be buried, if we are not the wali of the deceased. Meaning, if a person dies, his children, his wife, his mom, or family members, if they are somewhere, we have no right to even touch the body doing ghusl, kafan, burial, without their permission. And if they are somewhere, they say, no, I want the body to be kept until I come, that's exactly what has to be done. Nobody has the right, no Maulana, no any professor, have the right to say, no, we have to bury him because he died yesterday. No. The awliya get to do that decision. Not a scholar, not anybody else. So if the person passes away, his family are somewhere, and they say they should wait, that is exactly what we have to do. We have to wait until they give us permission, then we can do that. But ration is not something that is highly recommended.
Professor has a question.
Right. Last question.
Professor himself wishes to be buried as soon as he dies, then the others will have to do it.
That's right.
Yes.
If that's the case, then yes, that can be done.
You
Yes.
don't wait for my.
Any last question?
One question here.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
last.
What about homes for kafan and for grave? If I buy right now and then I have for many years, then
Do you need to pay?
do we need to pay homes and for kafan and for grave?
The question is, do we have to pay khums on kafan? The answer is no. When you buy a kafan, there is no khums on kafan. A person has it, and that's it. It stays until the day the person dies, and they use it on that person. But it's not going to be something that they're going to charge the person for having kafan. There is no khums on that. But if a person is going to use the money to buy the kafan, if that money is the money that has been sitting in my possession for more than a year, I have to pay the khums first and then buy the kafan. So that it has to be that the money that you use to buy the kafan, it should be the money that khums is already been paid. Then you buy the kafan. If you do so, then you don't have to worry about it. Yes.
No. Okay, last one.
Why is it preferred for a family to be buried next to each other, or spouses to be buried next to each other?
Yeah. The question is why the families are encouraged to be buried next to each other. Because in Islam, if the families, husband and wife or children, they are all mu'mineen, they are believers, they die on the same path. In Islam, they are also encouraged to be buried together so they can be together even in Alam al-Barzakh as well. Right? That is why even Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe, husband and wife, He says, أَلْحَقْنَا بِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ. Allah said we are going to unite them also in the Qiyamah as well. So it's mustahab. That's why you see Imam Hassan alayhi salam, when he passed away, he made a wasiyah, a will, that I want to be buried next to my father, my grandfather Rasulullah. Because he wanted to be next to his father as the only prophet. As they live together, he wants to be buried next to his father as well. So it's mustahab as families to be buried together. In some places like Qom or Iran, sometimes people buy one grave, they dig it very deep, and they bury like 3 or 4 people in one grave, husband and wife and the children, so they all can be together. So that is mustahab, so the family can be together, not only in this world, also in Alam al-Barzakh.
Allah.